Another year, another month of nothing but Nemesis Primes. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to... For anyone who might not be familiar, this is just a thing I've started doing where every September, assuming I have figures to make videos on, I do a bunch of... I basically save all the Nemesis Primes I get for September, is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, this month, for the rest of this month, actually for the full month, I did not realize until after I took a head count, but for the full month, I'm actually going to be doing Nemesis Prime videos because I have enough new Nemesis Primes I haven't made videos on yet to do that at 2 videos a week, so that's wild. But anyway, this right here is the MHX Supreme Commander in Nemesis colors. It is a slightly oversized knockoff of Rise of the Beasts. I think it's Studio Series, or at least buzzworthy Rise of the Beasts Optimus Prime. You know, that figure that's impossible to find. Company knocked it off in Nemesis colors, so of course I'm going to get it because Nemesis, but also it's easier to get this than it is to just find the official figure at retail, which is just, that's not cool. I understand there are reasons behind it with distribution and whatnot, but Hasbro really dropped the ball lately with distribution. But we all know this. So yeah, here we go. This is, it's sort of the Rise of the Beast figure, but it's also not. There are certain things that this does that are different. I never owned the original figure, so I don't know exactly what all those differences are, so I'm sorry if I don't call everything out or anything. But we are going to look at this for, you know, what it is based on its own merits, and based on its own merits, it's actually a very cool figure. One thing you may notice right off the bat is it doesn't have quite the same amount of junk back here as the official figure. It transforms in a different way that allows things to kind of tuck away and in a different place. Basically, you can kind of see in here, and that pin is popping up. That's not good. You can kind of see back here. There are these little flaps that are tucked back here. These flaps are what is like usually sticking out for the Studio Series figures. So they made them separate pieces and put them on these little hinges. So now you can fold them in and kind of tuck them into this space here to clean all that up, which is nice. There is some nice molding and paint work around here. I like the silver stripe that goes all the way around and up into the smokestacks on both sides. The windows are, well, the side windows are painted a nice metallic red. Front windows are a translucent red. I wish they had painted them like this, because this pops really nicely. This looks very dull, and you don't really notice it. I could paint those myself later, but this I feel like could have been better. And then let's see, you've got the big silver Sirius grille. The headlights, of course, silver for the rims, and as has become normal with this kind of cap, you get the different designs for rims for the 2 front wheels versus the 4 back wheels, and then around back you have the kind of gunmetal and black and the metallic red for the taillights. And you know, the back of the truck isn't super clean, but it never is. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this thing. It looks good for what it is. It looks cleaner than the official figure. It rolls really nicely, and I dig it. It also feels pretty good. It's pretty nice and hefty, again, for what it is. And I don't know, I like this thing. So with that all out of the way, let's do some size comparisons. We'll bring in our usual suspects. There is Dinobot, our Tall Voyager stand-in, Ova Prime, our Tall Deluxe stand-in, and Samus, our stand-in. Then get all of these out of the way. Bring in Burnout for a current modern deluxe, and you can see clearly that she is a lot smaller than Nemesis, than this particular Nemesis. Get her out of there, and just because I have the figure ready for other size comparisons, here is with the Studio Series. Was it 86? I forget. I forget the number of this Prime, but it's the Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime that they, the official mold that they released, and it has been knocked off to oblivion. This is not the fancy Takara official one in Nemesis colors that they released for some reason that I think is really weird because they took forever, and this thing had been knocked off in Nemesis colors at least twice by that point. But sure, this is not the official release. This is a knockoff because I've owned this since like a year before the official release even was announced. But it's pretty much the same size and everything as the official mold, so that's how he sizes up there. And I've already looked at this figure before. Well, not this specific figure. This is a slightly different one. The front pieces are actually die-cast metal, but I've looked at a version of that before. And let's see, what else can we grab here, just for funsies. There he is with Legacy Scourge. So kind of looks beefier than a leader class. That's how two of them stack up. And also, because I have it ready, here he is with the Siege mold. This is the official one, but yeah, there's the Siege mold in Nemesis colors, so bigger than that too. I'm not going to be transforming all of these Nemesis Primes off camera for robot mode comparisons, I'm sorry, but that's how that all stacks up. Okay, now before we transform this guy, if you like this video or any other video that I've done, you want to support the channel, or if you really like the idea of NemeSeptember and want me to do it again next year, I do have a Ko-fi or a Patreon, links to both at the end of the video as well as down in the description. Otherwise, you could always do the typical YouTube thing of like, comment, share, subscribe. Now we transform this guy, and I cannot tell you what's different compared to the official figure because, like I said, I don't own the official figure, so I'm just going to go through the steps. But first thing, going to push in these gas tanks because, of course, and I'm also going to pop these pieces out. They tab in to these little pegs here. Just going to pop these out, get those ready for later. I'm going to pull the grill out and just kind of hinge that out and down for now. I'm going to take the front wheels and rotate them in 180 degrees. And we should take care of this too. So I'm going to pull back these two pieces here. They peg in up here, but there's also a tab down here that goes into them. So you want to pull back and then pull back more. And there you can kind of see, it's difficult to show it, but there's this channel on the silver piece here, and there's a tab right here that has to go in there in addition to this pegging in. So do that and then bring these pieces back. And with these pieces back, I'm going to rotate this piece on this joint and then use this ball joint that really loves to pop out to rotate it in. And there it's now going to be filling in that spot, doing the job that the pieces do on the official figure. So fold that in, and hopefully I will not pop those ball joints later. And now we're going to separate the center here. It just pegs in right here. Just this bit right here tabs in here. That's the only thing that pegs it all together, but I'm fine with that. It holds securely enough. And now untab the feet. It's this piece here that tabs into the top of the foot. So untab the foot and rotate it and get it situated properly. Then this piece can rotate around. And this comes down, and this big chunky tab here plugs into this spot on this piece here. In addition to this tabbing over this piece right here. And you don't have to worry about lining things up too much. This kind of sits in place exactly how it should. So all you have to worry about is bringing everything down. And this will tab in and tab in. Tab in and tab in. Come on. Okay, That's 1, and that's 2. And now that's all done. And lastly, just going to take this piece and rotate it around like that. And that's it. I don't like this, but whatever. So there's one leg. Other leg is the same deal. It's going to bring this out, swing it around, swing this down. This one's nowhere near as loose as this one. I may need to tighten that one up, but do that. Bring this down and peg it in. Get this in place, and then swing this up and tab that in. And there we go. I didn't click that one in all the way. And then bring this down. Bring it down. I like to have the flat end. You can see on these little side pieces, one piece is kind of curved at the top and one end is like flat. I like to do the flat one towards the bottom. I don't know if that's correct. That's just how I like to do it. But that is the lower body. We are done with the legs. Now we can keep these out a little bit. We're going to take these flaps here and pop them up and swing them all the way back, like so. These pieces will untab. They're a little tricky to get going. I recall this being an issue before, but you want to untab these flaps here. Just use the spudger for this. There we go. So untab the flaps. Oh, also forgot you want to take this flap, fold it up, and it'll peg in right here. Now can kind of bring this out, since this is untapped, bring this out, rotate it around, and then bring the arm out. The arm actually tabs into the center here. There's a tab right here that goes into this slot here, so untab it, but don't bring it out all the way, because what you want to do now is take this gray piece, and you want to rotate it so that this joint is up, and you can rotate it this way, but that's a huge pain in the butt. It's much easier to leave the arm like this and use it as leverage and just lift up like this. And that will get that joint situated. Now, can straighten out the arm, rotate this silver panel up, and that will free bicep swivel up. I'm going to open this panel and flip out the fist. Close the panel, and now all of this will wrap around the forearm. Or actually, this folds in, and then this folds up. And that fills in. There we go. And that kind of hides it for the forearm. It doesn't wrap around. My bad. So there is one arm. The other arm is the same deal. I'm going to fold this flap up, unpeg this whole thing. This can fold down, it doesn't really matter. Rotate this out a bit. Also going to rotate this up so that bicep swivels free. Untab this, and then rotate this whole assembly up. Open this, fold out the fist. With this folded down, now fold this around, and then rotate the bicep into place. So now there we've got the other arm done. Okay, almost done. Gonna keep the arms up so we can take this and do a classics Optimus. Just rotate the upper body all the way around. We need to open that just to get it past this piece here. But upper body all opened. Open these up, and this can hinge. Now we'll leave it like this. This whole assembly can come up, and it will kind of go between the wheels here. This is a lot like the Studio Series Bumblebee movie figure and how that whole bit of the torso works. And now with this open, we want the space to flip this panel around. That's a little bit solid, but it does rotate all the way. And then this panel comes down, 180 degrees, and then these panels come back in and will tab into these little slots on the panel here that these tab into, and that keeps the chest slightly angled like it's supposed to be from the design. And lastly, rotate this up, bring this up, and this rectangular section of the grill will tab over this very solidly. It actually kind of clicks in place, and that makes up his back, and that's it. There we have MHX Supreme Commander in Nemesis colors, in robot mode, in Nemesis colors, in robot mode. And this is it's a cool figure. It's annoying because like this is like it's good. So obviously the Studio Series / buzzworthy version of the figure is a really good figure, and it's a huge pain to find. And at this point, I feel like nobody's going to be able to find it easily. So the fact that this figure is this cool and it's impossible to get a hold of just irritates me. But there are lots of knockoffs, so there is that. This guy is very clean. You've got a little bit of windows on the backs of the forearms, but it's the backs of the forearms. Everything else really just cleans up really nicely. I like this quite a bit. I like the design for Rise of the Beasts Prime, and seeing it in Nemesis colors is very cool. The colors, again, great. That matte black, I really like the matte black, and it's all plastic, which is nice. The silver also looks good. The dark kind of gunmetal-y gray looks good. You get a little bit of that blue in the waist. I think it would have been nice if there was some in the shoulders, maybe like on these circular bits, just to add a little bit of that Nemesis Prime blue in a couple more places. Also, he's got silver on the sides of the forearms, but I feel like maybe a little bit on the tops would have been nice. Also, they could have probably done some of that blue in the knees, these lights, but it does look good. The molding is good. The sculpt is good. The paint and everything is good. It is a cool figure, and I like having it as a Nemesis Prime. So the head now, it's Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime, but Nemesis colored. So it's black head, red eyes, silver everything else. And it, again, the sculpt is good. The paint is good. It's a little strange, but I actually like this line that kind of connects the little circular bit for the antenna towards the face, to the faceplate. I don't know why, I just like it. You even get a little bit of silver around the back of the head. Kind of makes the neck look a little bit more cohesive. And yeah, it looks good. I like I like it. The head might be maybe a little bit narrow for the rest of the body, but I think, can blame how this thing transforms on that. Now for articulation, as you saw, the head is on a ball joint, so it does tilt side to side, can look up, can't really look down, but it can look down a tiny bit. And also it can rotate 360 degrees. The arms can rotate 360. The outward motion can go to almost 90, but the problem is he does have trigger happy shoulders. So if you want to rotate the arm and bring it up, you're kind of stuck. Like things bash into other things. I wonder if you can rotate this joint down to maybe get a little bit more range, because if you rotate the joint back a little bit, you can get a little bit more range, but it is kind of awkward to do. So your outward shoulder motion or rotation and outward shoulder motion are a bit limited. You have bicep swivels. You have double jointed elbows with the upper joint being kind of loose on both arms for mine. Like, it's fine. It holds position, but it's really easy to knock it out of place. But you also get a secondary elbow joint, so you can use that to get a much deeper elbow bend. You may be seeing this thing happening. You can kind of use this transformation joint as like a pseudo ab crunch or a major ab crunch if you want. It's not like, it doesn't peg in when you bring this down, so it is not that difficult to do this. So it's something you can use for articulation if you want, I guess. I may want to tighten that joint up just so that it doesn't do this quite as easily, though. You get a waist rotation, which is separate from the upper torso rotation. That's just for the transformation. The hips are a little interesting. So they can go back. They only go back about that far. But they can go forward really far. And that's because it's one of those strange assemblies where the spot where the hip rotates is not in the center of the hip. It's actually on this armature and it's slightly forward, which you can kind of see there. So when you rotate the hip, it's not rotating here, it's rotating here. So that gives it plenty of space to swing forward, but that also means you're not really going to go back at all. It's a choice. I don't dislike it. It's just a little bit like, I think it could have gotten away with a regular forward and backward, maybe turn this into like a movable hip skirt, but whatever. The hip can go out that far when the leg is straight. If you bring it forward, you can go out a lot further, because the problem is this thigh piece is kind of butting into the hip skirt. But you can do that. You get a thigh rotation, which you're not going to get a whole lot because the back section here is crashing into everything going on inside the hip. But I feel like what you get is enough. And I mean, you can also bring the leg out to get more of a thigh rotation, so you can do that. For the knee bend, it's a single jointed knee that goes to 90. And then for the feet, they're on hinges and ball joints, so you get a lot of tilt and some up and down and some rotation. And you can also use the ball joint for tilt, so you can kind of play around with that for a little bit more expressiveness in the feet, which is cool. So yeah, this guy's articulation, pretty good aside from some of the limitations in the arms and the backwards hip, but that's not... Oh, I forgot the fists, sorry. The fists can wiggle like this, and they also do rotate. So there you go. Good articulation on this particular Nemesis. Now, for the accessories, I didn't show them in vehicle mode, but he does come with a ton of accessories, and I'm not going to show all of them because he comes with so many. Like, too many. But you have his blaster that looks like the movie version of his blaster. You also have this piece, which is designed to act as a way for you to peg this onto the robot mode, because there is no peg on this gun other than the handle. So what you have to do is slide this in, and there's actually you can see this is shaped just right so that this can fit in like this, and that will go around the gun. And that then gives you a peg that you can peg into his back on these lower pegs, not the upper ones. So peg that in there, and his gun is now pegged in. Similarly, there's this piece that is for the axe, and that can peg in, and that gives you a place to store the axe. And here is the axe. It's not the giant battle axe or double-sided axe that we've seen with a lot of figures like this, but it's a pretty decent hatchet-looking axe. And this seems like, it might be weird, because how does this go into his hand if he doesn't have opening fingers? Well, you just pop off the bottom, and then it slides in. And that's also how you can store it on his back. You just pop that off, slide this into that opening, and then plug that back on. And now both his gun, his rifle, and his axe are stored on his back. And he also has swords. They are mirrored, they are not identical, but he's got swords, and they have pegs on them, so you can peg them into the back. If you didn't have these pegged in, you can peg them into his forearms if you want, and you can put them in his hands if you want him to wield them like that. The way I've had this guy displayed is I actually have been enjoying pegging the swords into his forearms and swinging them back, like so, because I just think that's kind of neat. I dig it. And then I give him the gun and the axe. So the gun can just pop out of here, but I keep these pegged in because I want to be able to, you know, swap things around, however, in the future if I change my mind. One thing that does stink, though, is he doesn't hold the gun super well. You can kind of, like, it's in there, but it doesn't take a whole lot to knock it loose. It's not as bad as, say, the Gravity Builder knockoff or official Gravity Builder Constructicons in terms of holding his gun, but it could be better. The axe, you don't really have to worry about it coming out because of the little stopper thing, and this just slides into his fist, but also it's like tolerance so that it holds in much more securely anyway. But you plug that in, and there we go. Now he's holding the axe and the gun, and I don't know, that's just I think that's cool, and that's how I have this guy displayed on my shelf. He is neat, and he is also big. He is, as I said, oversized. So if we bring in Dinobot and Overprime and Samus, you can see that he is more like, I want to say leader, but like tall leader. That's maybe a little too bright there. Let's try and dim that down just a little bit. Maybe like that. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, he's roughly leader-ish size. Maybe a little taller than a current leader because a lot of current leaders tend to be more on the stout side rather than the tall side. But just thinking of Galvatron as I say that. But yeah, it's he is a good size. And we'll get all of these out of here and bring in Burnout. Here he is with Burnout, and again you can see he is quite large. So he is much taller. It's still too bright. I guess I'll leave it like that, but it still looks too bright to me. I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, he's a big boy. And because I figure this is kind of important, here he is with the Siege mold, which that mold still holds up incredibly well. Actually, I think it holds up better now than it did before. But yeah, here he is with the Siege mold. So yeah, way taller than a Voyager. And I forgot to do this when we did the vehicle mode, but oh well. At least we get the most important size comparison at the end here. Here he is with the duck tank. And that does it for, what was it, MHX Supreme Commander, I think. My computer screen went to sleep, so I can't check it right now. But yeah, cool figure. The shoulders are a little bit disappointing. The hip articulation is a little bit disappointing in very specific contexts. But the transformation is cool, and the figure looks great, and he comes with way more accessories than is necessary. This is not actually all the accessories he comes with. The rest of them I have in a box because I just couldn't be bothered to take them out. But very cool figure. Very glad I have it. And it's also just annoying that the official Optimus Prime of this mold, more or less this mold, is so difficult to get a hold of. But that's all I have to say about this guy. What do you all think of either the official Studio Series / Buzzworthy Optimus Prime or this, or one of the other knockoffs that have been circulating? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and next video is, surprise, going to be another Nemesis.